So Moana 2 is a really great animated musical adventure comedy sequel movie that was originally conceived to be a 5-episode TV series, and they must be so glad that they pivoted it into becoming a theatrical movie, as not only did it make $1 billion in the box office, it was also the 3rd highest grossing movie of 2024. And they did a really good job in terms of bringing everything that was brilliant from the first legendary movie into this one. For example, Moana and Maui's swashbuckling pirate-esque type adventure in the high seas. And as all of the Pirates of the Caribbean and One Piece and pirate-esque type adventures have shown, that there are so many quest type things that you can do in the high seas. And so it was so great to see this movie building on all of the Te Fiti legends that they had set in the first movie, and this time they are trying to resurrect a number of lost islands to darkness, and in order to do so they have to find the legendary island Motufetu. And like I said, I feel like they built on everything that they had set up in the first movie really well. In particular, the villains Nalu and Matangi. I just wish that I could say the same thing about Moana's crew, as they not only were so lame, I feel like they just lacked so much screen presence. And instead of aiding Moana, it just felt like they were there pretty much to be stumbling blocks for her, and you weren't really invested in the storyline of her trying to win them all over and trying to help them find their purpose. As I feel like Matangi's character was the one that you can really learn from, when she was like, look, if it seems like everything is pretty impossible, always know that there is another path. And I feel like from a lessons point of view, that is absolutely brilliant. I love the family development that they had for Moana in terms of giving her a younger sister, as this was such a great emotional mechanism of really showing the impact of going on this kind of a voyage, as there is no guarantee that you're going to come back alive. And I feel like this really does pull not only on Moana's heartstrings, but equally the audiences as well. And speaking of Moana, I feel like they developed her into a leader in a really great way, as she never ever shoved this down anyone's throats. Instead, she was the ultimate leader in terms of always empowering everybody on the island. And despite her being a really courageous leader, I love the fact that this quest was equally challenging for her. Firstly, like I said, because of the fact that she's got this misfit crew team that she really has to win over. And I feel like in the first movie, the ocean was always there as her backup plan to really help her, but in the majority of this movie, the ocean is nowhere to be seen. And even though you do see the ocean there helping her pretty much in the first 2 acts of this movie, in the third one, the ocean is nowhere to be seen, and this really does make you feel like Moana's on her own. And speaking of that third and final act, I feel like the stakes were so high, and you can really see that Maui and Moana are doing everything that they can to raise up the island of Motufetu, and Nalo, through all of his thunderstorm powers, is doing everything that he can to prevent them from doing this, to the point where Maui gets completely stripped of his powers and Moana dies. I feel like if this wasn't a kids movie, they would have lingered in that moment a little bit more, as it was so heartbreaking. And I feel like they really rushed it in terms of Maui then getting his powers back, and then Moana not only getting resurrected, but becoming even more powerful than ever and having her own set of tattoos. It was obviously a magical and amazing moment, but like I said, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it to make it even more impactful. And on that point, I feel like Disney is at its best when it really is able to balance both the light and the dark, and really make their movies for an all ages audience, instead of, which I feel like they have been doing lately, making it way more skewing towards a younger audience and kind of alienating the adult audience, whereas I feel like Moana 2 really is able to cater for both. So let's break down these characters a little bit more. So I absolutely love the fact that we've got the entire voice cast from the first movie back, and it's not as if they were going to replace them when it was originally going to be a TV series, as Dwayne Johnson and everybody else had signed on for that TV series production. So it's so great to see everybody here, as typically, for example, with Aladdin 2, not everybody always returns. So like I was saying before, I feel like Moana is such a great character, such a great role model. I love that they've developed her character. She's been on this island for 3 years, and she is such a great leader. Everybody is always willing to do whatever she wants. She is such an empowering individual, and from a music point of view, her songs just get even better, as I feel like Beyond is not only a really magical storyline, I feel like you can just learn so much from it, and it really does throw you into this world. I feel like Dwayne Johnson's really great as Maui. Super strong-willed, really loyal, and nowhere near as deceitful as he was in that first movie. I feel like you're kind of hating Maui in the first one, and he definitely had a lot of screen time when he eventually does come on screen, and of course all of his backstory is involved with Nalo and Matangi, but I feel like as a character, they could have just done a little bit more, and maybe they would have done in episode 2 or 3 in the TV series, as I would have just loved to have seen a few more layers and a lot more depth with this character. In terms of Matangi, I love that she really had a bit of a crush on Maui, and she had so much presence, even though she wasn't on screen for that long, they definitely made the most of it, and I feel like not only did she have a really great song, not only was she a pretty developed character, given the short runtime that she was there, I even feel like from a design point of view, she did look really, really cool, and similarly to Maui, maybe from a TV series point of view, she could have had a dedicated episode, and we would have learned even more about her. As when they were introducing this character from like a shadow bat's perspective right at the start, it didn't seem at all as if she would be willing to help Moana, and I would have just loved to have seen why she really did this. I wish I could say the same about the crew, because I just feel like they detracted so much from this film, and they were only helpful towards the end of this movie, but that moment wasn't earned at all, as they were pretty irritating from the moment that they got on this boat, and I honestly think maybe I would have still thought this, even if they were developed more in the TV series. I love the fact that this film has a mid-credit scene. I cannot wait to hear Moana 3 being revealed, as we finally see a bit of a humanoid version of Nalo, and he is furious at Matangi for helping them, and before he was able to punish her, we see the giant crab coming into the scene that we last saw in the first movie, so I cannot wait to see all of the treachery that these guys are going to come up with in that third movie, and I honestly think it might be a bit of a life or death situation this time when Matangi potentially does help Moana and Maui again. So overall, even though this movie wasn't perfect, I feel like they developed and learned so much about what worked in the first movie, and I feel like they just built on all of the charm and all of the wit that this franchise is now known for, and I'm so excited to see where they're going to take it next, but as far as Moana 2 is concerned, I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Moana 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.